Good morning, Chevra. It's a beautiful Thursday morning. Water is a sign of blessing, so today is extra special blessing coming down. Today is the 8th day of Cheshvan, and we're going to go deep in Tanya here. It's powerful stuff. Page 89 in Chayenu, if you're following along. If not, order your Chayenu today at chayenu.org. In today's lesson, the Alter Rebbe continues to clarify the puzzling Zohar, which differentiates between the two dimensions of Torah, one termed the tree of life, while the other is termed the tree of good and evil. So the Alter Rebbe is explaining, it's like, oh, how could this be lower? But it's really from a higher source. And he explains all these different things. Now we're going to get into it. When Malchus of Atzilus, okay, Atzilus is the highest of worlds, right next to Hashem. And Malchus is the lowest level of Atzilus. So in Malchus of Atzilus is vested in Klippas Nega, comes all the way down to this neutral Klippa, in order to extract and refine the sparks that fell with the sin of Adam, Arisha, the first man. As well as the 288 sparks that fell with the breaking of the vessel Shviras HaKelim. Azai gam malchus datzilus nikam shem eitz hadas tevra legabe zeran ben datzilus. So malchus of Atzilus, the lowest level of Atzilus, 2 is then referred to as the tree of knowledge of good and evil relative to the Zer Anpen of Atzilus. So from that perspective, from the lowest level of Atzilus, it's referred to as the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Okay, why? She'ena yored sham v'nikra eitz chaim, which does not descend there, and which is referred to as the tree of life. So the Zer Anpin is called the tree of life. It's a higher level. And the investiture, when the Shechina comes all the way down, of Malchus in Klippas Nega is the Kabbalistic principle of the exile of the Shechina. Such a high level, Malchus of Atzilus. But for the Shechina to go from here to there, it's Golus. If somebody loses all his wealth and is forced to move into a small apartment when he lived in a 10,000 square foot huge home with 3-4 cars in, it's like and other people would be thrilled to have such a nice apartment. But for him, it's called the exile, the Golus of the Shechina. Excuse me. Whereby man rules over man to his detriment. What does this mean? In Epistle 25 above, we're in 26. And the last one, the Alter Rebbe quotes, an epistle is like a long form letter that's generic and lengthy. The Alter Rebbe quotes the exposition of this pasuk in Sefer HaGedolim. So during the time of Golos, the evil man of Klippa rules over the sacred man, meaning the holy side of the universe. You see that the leaders, the rulers, the governors, the mayors, the presidents, the prime ministers, the kings, they're not the most honorable at times. So it's like the evil man rules over the sacred man. At the same time, the divine presence is in a state of exile within the universe. However, this temporary dominion of evil is his ultimate detriment, where its underlying intent is that the sparks of holiness that are embedded within the evil is extracted and elevated. We're going to use that. We're going to say, oh, it's for a reason, and ultimately it's going to be for the good. Now, Alter is not going to answer the following question that he had asked earlier that I have not stated. That as long as the bipolar influence of the tree of knowledge of good and evil is dominant over the world, bipolar means sometimes good, sometimes evil. We don't know what it is at any given time. You have to always have your guard up, always be careful. Torah scholars who are likened to the Shabbos and the festivals are supported by only their unlettered weekday brethren, quote unquote, whose food is sometimes pure, but sometimes not. We never know. Could come either way. This is why the scholars engage in the study of the corresponding bipolar laws of Isser and Heter, ritual, prohibition, and permissibility, and the like. So the Alter Rebbe is going to explain that even though the sages in the Second Temple, during the second Beis Hamikdash, used to also give trumas and maasros from their own fields and vineyards, Did they not mainly study the very same laws of Isser and Heter and the like? So they did it during times of Beis Hamikdash. Why not during the times of Golus as well? What's the Chiddush? Is that Shekosu B'Rai Mehemna? V'Zimna di Lana de Tevera Shalt Chulu Inun Chulu. And this is the meaning of the statement of the Rai Mehemna. The Zohar says that while the tree of good and evil dominates the world, these sages are likened to the Shabbos and festivals. And they have nothing except what is given to them by those who are called unsanctified ones. Even though they had money, they had fields, they had property, they were wealthy, but they're considered Shabbos and festivals, and they have nothing except for what the others give to them. The Hainu. Zman goes Ashchina. Shemash Bas, Lachitzonius, Shehem Klipas Noiga, Sheha Erev Rav Yonkim Misham. This means that at the time of the Golus, of the Shechina, which grants life force to the Chitzonim. Chitzonim is the outer realms that belong to the realm of Klipas Nega. Chitzonim is like the Chatzah, you know. Chitzonius is the outer level or layer from which the mixed multitudes derive their life force. Umitamtzison nizoinin talmidei chachamim begalus, and from those distilled essence, the Torah scholars are nourished during the exile from the outer ones, from the multitude. Okay. At this time, so why the Alter Rebbe is being is a beautiful idea. Why are we not being supported by righteous people? Why does it have to be people that are, sometimes good, but usually not? Because now the Talmidei Chachamim have an opportunity to connect with them, to influence them, and to elevate them. So at the time, the main spiritual task of man and the main purpose is engaging in Torah and the mitzvahs and to disencumber and elevate the sparks. And for this reason, for this reason, we're trying to elevate the sparks. We're specifically going to talk about laws of Isser and Heter, purity and impurity. We're not just going to talk holy laws and very simple and esoteric things. We're going to get down and dirty because we have to elevate those sparks from the furthest of places and the darkest of places. In order to disencumber and disencumber the permitted and the pure from the forbidden and the impure, we have to dislodge that which is pure from the impure. It might be stuck in the impure. How do we do that? Learning about it, deliberating on it, arguing on it with wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, and with all these three intellective faculties of the soul that clarify the law. When you go over something and you're trying to understand it and you're struggling with it even, and sometimes when you're learning it and you don't get it, it's a little bit frustrating, but that's how you pull out the good out of the bad, out of the negative, I should say, or whatever. I don't know. Is beriru. As is known, the Torah derives from Chachma. Hence, the sparks of holiness hidden in a legal question can be extracted and elevated only through Chachma. So you got to put your mind to it, and that's how you extract the holiness from this difficult situation. We already see that that's why the people that were maybe not the most honorable people, they're the ones that have to support, because then we can extract the good out of them. If you have no relationship, how are you going to help them? Specifically, the supernal Chachma Atzilus, which is invested in Malchus of Atzilus, this being the Kabbalistic principle of the oral Torah. According to the Kabbalistic principle, in parentheses here, by which the father, Chachma of Atzilus, begat, meaning literally founded the daughter, which is Malchus of Atzilus, which in turn is vested in Malchus of Yitzira. The Soid HaMishnayos, Ubraisos, Amalubashos, Beklipas Noiga, Shekineged Eilam HaYitzira. This accords with the Kabbalistic principle of the Mishnayos and the Braisos, which are vested in the Klipas Noiga, which correspond to the world of Yitzira. Underneath Atzilus. Shesham Mascha B'chinas Hadas, or Rasha B'Noiga. For there begins the knowledge of good and evil, or for there begins the evil inherent in Noiga. For the Klipas Noiga and the world of Yitzira is equally good and evil. And another nusach says, "Vaybraisis melubeshes the Klipas Noiga shekineged elam asiyah shesham maskul b'chinas harash Noiga Another way to read this is that the brises that are vested in the Klippus Noiga, which correspond to the world of Asiya, for there begins the evil inherent in Noiga. For the Klippus Noiga of Asiya is mostly evil and minimally good. As is known from teaching Saris. Okay, I know it finished off a little on the deeper side, but let's do a takeaway that's studying and clarifying Jewish law about the most mundane things. This one stole from this, and this one, how do you do a claim in court? I sat in the property, I owned the property, my grandfather owned the property, I was here for 1 day, 3 years. When we learn these things, we are aligning the matter with the divine purpose. We're extracting the good from in the darkness of the Shekhinah, and we're able to elevate the sparks. All right, beautiful. Have a great day, Reb Dov. Good